The moon had no name. It was just a number in the star charts, a small gray rock spinning around a gas giant that nobody cared about. Lieutenant Doan Park had been scanning it for 3 hours, and he was bored out of his mind. The readings showed nothing interesting. No minerals worth mining. No signs of life. Just dust and craters and silence. Doan leaned back in his seat and rubbed his eyes. He had been on the Aegis for 8 months now, and most of his days looked exactly like this one. Scan a planet. Write a report. Scan another planet. Write another report. He had joined the space program because he wanted adventure. He wanted to discover new worlds and meet alien species. Instead, he got paperwork and empty moons. His scanner made a small beeping sound. Doan looked at the screen without much hope. Probably just another rock formation. But then he saw something that made him sit up straight. There was metal down there. Not natural metal, but shaped metal. Something built by intelligent hands. He checked the readings 3 times to make sure he was not making a mistake. The shape was hidden inside a deep crater on the dark side of the moon. It was small, maybe the size of a shuttle, and it was not supposed to be there. Doan thought about calling Captain J. Wu. That was the correct thing to do. Any unexpected discovery had to be reported to the commanding officer. But something made him stop. He looked at the readings again. The metal object was giving off very weak energy signals. Whatever it was damaged. It was dying. He made a decision. He would go down and look first. If it was nothing important, he would come back and nobody would need to know. If it was something dangerous, he would call for help. It was probably just old garbage from some forgotten mission. That happened sometimes. Space was full of junk that people left behind. 20 minutes later, Doan was flying a small landing craft toward the crater. The moon had no air, so he had to wear his full spacesuit. The craft touched down gently on the gray dust, and he stepped outside. The silence was complete. No wind, no sound, just his own breathing inside his helmet. He walked toward the crater edge and looked down. There it was. A shuttle, but not a human one. The design was strange, with curved walls and a surface that looked like the shell of an insect. Doan recognized it immediately. It was Shivari. His heart beat faster. The Shivari were one of the most powerful species in the Coalition. They controlled dozens of star systems and had technology that humans could only dream about. They were also cold and logical, with no emotions that humans could understand. Meeting a Kivari always made Doan uncomfortable. Their large black eyes seemed to look right through you. He climbed down into the crater carefully. The shuttle was badly damaged. One side was crushed, and there were burn marks all over the hull. It looked like someone had attacked it, or maybe it had crashed. Either way, it had been here for a while. Dust had already started to cover the lower parts. Duhan found the door and tried to open it. It was stuck. He used his tools to force it, and finally, it slid open with a grinding noise. Inside, the shuttle was dark. His helmet light cut through the blackness, showing broken equipment and scattered debris. Then he saw her. She was sitting in the corner, holding something close to her chest. A Kivari female with gray-green skin and large eyes that reflected his light like mirrors. She was injured. One of her forearms hung at a wrong angle and there was dried blood on her face. But she was alive. When she saw Doan, she made a sound that he had never heard a Kivari make before. It was almost like a cry. Doan raised his hands to show he meant no harm. He did not know if she could understand him, but he spoke anyway. His suit had a translator built in. "I am not here to hurt you," he said slowly. "I am a human. I found your ship. Do you need help?" The Kivari female stared at him for a long moment. Then she spoke. Her voice was rough and weak, but the translator turned it into words he could understand. "Human," she said, "you must leave. You must not report this. Please." Doan was confused. He had expected her to ask for rescue, not to tell him to go away. He took a step closer and saw what she was holding. It was a small pod about the size of a football, made of the same shell-like material as the ship. Through a clear section on top, he could see something moving inside. Something small and alive. "Is that?" he started to ask. "My daughter," the Shivari said. "Her name is Tiri. She is why I am here. She is why I ran. Doan did not understand. The Kivari did not run. They did not hide. They followed orders and served their collective without question. That was what everyone knew about them. The female seemed to read his confusion. She pulled the pod closer to her body, protecting it. Tiri was born wrong, she explained. She has a defect in her genes. She cannot serve the hive. She cannot work or fight or produce. By our law, she must be recycled. Her body would be broken down and used to feed the others. That is what happens to the useless ones. Doan felt sick. He had heard that the Kivari were harsh, but this was something else. This was murder. This was killing a baby because she was not perfect. He ran to save her, he said quietly. The female nodded. My name is Velra. I am a traitor to my kind. I broke our oldest laws, but I could not let them take her. I do not know why. I do not understand this feeling. But when I look at her, I cannot let her die. She lifted the pod slightly and Doan saw the small creature inside more clearly. Tiri looked like a tiny version of her mother, but softer and more fragile. She was sleeping peacefully, unaware of the danger around her. If you report us, Velra continued, the collective will come. They will take Tiri. They will kill us both. I am asking you, human. I am begging you. Please do not tell them we are here. Doan stood in the darkness of the broken shuttle, looking at this alien mother and her forbidden child. Everything he had learned told him to follow the rules. Report the discovery. Let the authorities handle it. Stay out of trouble, but he could not do it. He looked at Velra's eyes, and for the first time he saw something in a Kivari that he recognized. He saw fear. He saw love. He saw a mother who would die for her child. I will not report you, he said, but you cannot stay here. Your ship is dying. You will freeze when the power fails. I am going to take you somewhere safe. Velra looked at him like she could not believe what she was hearing. Why? She asked. Why would you help us? You do not know us. We are nothing to you. Hey. Doan thought about the question. He was not sure he had a good answer. Finally, he just said what felt true. That is what humans do, he told her. We help, even when it does not make sense. Even when it is dangerous. We help because we cannot look at someone in pain and walk away. He reached out his hand toward her. Velra stared at it for a moment. Then slowly, she took it. And in that cold and silent place, something changed. Something small but important. A connection was made between two species that were supposed to have nothing in common. Doan helped Velra to her feet. She held Tiri close with her unbroken arms. Together, they walked out of the crater and into the light of distant stars. Neither of them knew what would happen next. But for now, they had each other. And sometimes, that is enough. Duhan had never smuggled anyone onto a ship before. He had never broken a rule bigger than staying up past curfew. But now he was walking through the lower corridors of the Aegis with an alien fugitive and her illegal child, hoping that nobody would see them. The ship was large, and at this hour most of the crew was asleep. Doan had chosen his timing carefully. He led Velra through the service tunnels that connected the cargo areas. These parts of the ship were rarely visited. Old equipment and spare parts filled the rooms. Covered in dust and forgotten by everyone, he found a storage room at the very back of the ship. It was cold, but there was power for light and heat if he turned it on. He helped Velra sit down on a stack of crates and gave her a blanket from an emergency kit. You will be safe here for now, he said. Nobody comes to this section. I will bring you food and water. But I need to find someone to look at your injuries. Your arm is bad, Velra shook her head. No. The more people who know, the more danger for you. I can wait. I have survived worse. But Dohan could see that she was lying. Her gray-green skin had turned pale and she was shaking. The crash had hurt her more than she wanted to admit. If she did not get medical help soon, she might not survive. He thought about who he could trust. There was only one person on the ship that he believed would help without asking too many questions first. Dr. Yoon Bi-yoon, the chief medical officer. She was strict about rules, but she was also the kindest person Doan knew. She had a daughter back on Earth, a little girl named Somi. Doan had seen pictures of them together. He hoped that a mother would understand another mother. He found Yoonbi in the medical bay, cleaning her instruments. She looked up when he entered and smiled. "Doan, it is late. Are you feeling sick?" He closed the door behind him. "Dr. Yoon, I need your help. But I need you to promise me something first. Promise me that you will listen to everything before you decide what to do." Yoonbi's smile faded. She put down her tools and looked at him carefully. "That is a strange way to ask for help. What have you done?" Doan told her everything. The moon, the crashed shuttle, Velra and Tiri, the Kavari laws about defective children. Yoonbi listened without saying a word. Her face went through many emotions as he spoke. Surprise, horror, sadness, and finally, something that looked like anger. "They kill their own children," she said quietly when he finished, "because they are not useful. Like throwing away a broken machine. And if we report them, the collective will come for them. I could not do it, doctor. I know I broke the rules, but I could not send a baby to die." Yoonbi was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood up and started gathering supplies from her. Cabinets, bandages, medicine, instruments. She put them all in a bag and looked at Doan. "Take me to them," she said. Now, they walked through the empty corridors together. When they reached the storage room, Velra was lying on the floor, too weak to sit. The pod containing Tiri was pressed against her chest. Yoonbi kneeled down beside her without hesitation. "I am a doctor," she said gently. "I am going to help you. Do not be afraid." Velra's eyes opened slowly. She looked at Yoonbi, then at Doan. "You told someone?" she whispered. "I told a friend," Doan replied. "She will not betray us." Yoonbi worked quickly. She examined Velra's arm and found that it was broken in 2 places. She set the bones and wrapped them in a special cast that would help them heal. She cleaned the cuts on Velra's face and gave her medicine for the pain and infection. Through it all, Velra never made a sound. She just watched Yoonbi with those large, strange eyes. "No. You are a mother," Velra said finally. It was not a question. Yoonbi paused. "How did you know?" "The way you touch. The way you move. Only a mother has that kind of gentleness." Yoonbi smiled sadly. "Yes, I have a daughter. Her name is Somi. She is 6 years old. She lives with my mother on Earth while I am here. I miss her every day." "Why did you leave her?" It was a simple question, but it hit Yoonbi hard. She had asked herself the same thing many times. Why had she taken this mission? Why had she left her little girl behind? "Because I wanted to help people," she said. "I thought I could do more good out here in space, where there are fewer doctors. I thought I was making the right choice. But sometimes, at night, I wonder if I was wrong." Velra looked at the pod in her arms. "I do not understand this thing I feel for Tiri. My people do not have a word for it. We are not supposed to feel anything for our offspring. They belong to the hive, not to us. But when she was born, when I held her for the first time, something happened to me. I looked at her, and I knew that I would die before I let anyone hurt her." Yoonbi reached out and touched Velra's unbroken hand. "We call that love," she said. "And it is the most powerful thing in the universe. It makes us do impossible things. It makes us brave when we should be afraid. It makes us fight when we should run." "Love," Velra repeated the word slowly, tasting it. "Is this what humans feel for their children?" "Yes, and for our partners, our friends, our families. It is what makes us human. Or maybe it is what connects all living things that have hearts." Velra was quiet for a while. Then she did something that shocked both humans. Tears began to fall from her eyes. Not human tears, but thin streams of clear liquid that ran down her gray cheeks. It was the first time either of them had seen a Kivari cry. "I did not know I could do this," Velra said, touching her wet face with wonder. "My people say that crying is a defect, a weakness. But it does not feel weak. It feels free." Yoonbi wiped her own eyes. She had started crying too, without realizing it. It is not weakness. It is just another form of love. When we feel too much, our bodies have to let it out somehow. Doan stood by the door, watching the two mothers from different worlds share a moment that went beyond words. He had always thought that humans and aliens were too different to truly understand each other. But now, he was not so sure. Maybe the things that mattered most were the same everywhere. Love, family. The need to protect the ones who could not protect themselves. The next few days were difficult. Doan and Yunbi took turns visiting Velra and Tiri, bringing them food and supplies. Velra grew stronger under Yunbi's care. Her arm began to heal. Her color returned. And slowly she started to talk more about her life. She told them about the collective, the great hive mind that connected all Chivari. She told them about the strict rules that controlled every part of their lives. She told them about the day Tiri was born, when the scanners showed the defect in her genes, and how the officials came to take her away. I said no, Velra told them. That was all. Just one word? No. I had never said it before. None of us ever say it. But when they reached for Tiri, the word came out of me like a weapon, and then I ran. She had stolen a shuttle and fled into space, not knowing where she was going. She had been chased and shot. Her ship had crashed on the nameless moon, and she had waited there for days, holding Tiri, waiting to die. I was ready to give up, she admitted. I was too weak to move, to hurt to hope. And then you came. A human, alone, on a dead moon. What are the chances of that? Doan shook his head. I do not know. Maybe it was luck. Maybe it was fate. Maybe the universe just decided that you and Tiri deserved a chance. Meanwhile, trouble was coming. The ship received a message from the Coalition Communication Network, a priority alert. The Kavari Collective was searching for a fugitive, a female who had committed biological treason by stealing collective property. Larval unit designated for recycling. Captain Jay Wuxin called a meeting of all senior officers. He stood at the front of the room, his face serious. The collective wants us to report any sightings of this fugitive, he said. They say she is dangerous. They say she is carrying stolen genetic material. Oan felt his blood run cold. He glanced at Yunbi. She looked just as scared. They both knew the truth. The stolen genetic material was a baby, and she was hidden right here on this very ship. Captain Jay Wuxin was not a fool. He had commanded ships for 20 years, and he knew when something was wrong. For the past week, Lieutenant Doan Park and Dr. Yunbi Yoon had been acting strange. They disappeared at odd hours. They asked for extra food rations. They whispered to each other in corners and went quiet whenever he walked by. At first, Jae-woo thought it might be a romance. Such things happened on long missions. People got lonely, but he watched them more carefully and saw that it was something else. They were not sneaking away together like lovers. They were taking turns, always one staying behind while the other went somewhere. And they looked worried, scared even. After the Kavari alert came through, Jae-woo noticed that both of them went pale. They exchanged looks across the room, and in that moment, Jae-woo knew. They were hiding something. Something connected to that fugitive. He did not want to believe it. Doan was one of his best officers. Young and idealistic, yes, but honest and hardworking. Yunbi was the most trusted doctor he had ever served with. She had saved lives on this ship, including his own when he had been injured in an accident 3 years ago. These were good people. Why would they risk everything to harbor an alien criminal? Jae-woo decided to find out for himself. He waited until the night shift, when the corridors were empty. Then he followed the path he had seen Doan take many times before, through the service tunnels, down to the old cargo sections, to a storage room at the back of the ship that should have been empty. He opened the door quietly and stepped inside, and there she was, a Kivari female, sitting on a crate, holding a small pot in her arms. Doan and Yunbi were both there, bringing her what looked like dinner. Everyone froze. The silence was terrible. Doan stepped forward, his hands raised. Captain, please, let me explain. But Jae-woo was not looking at him. He was looking at the pod, at the small creature sleeping inside, and he was remembering his own son Minho, who had died of a disease 10 years ago. Minho had been only 4 years old. He had been sick since birth, his body too weak to fight the illness that destroyed his lungs. Jae-woo had held him in the hospital bed as he took his last breath. He had never felt such pain, before or since. "Is that her child?" he asked quietly. Velra held the pod tighter. She looked at Jae-woo with fear in her eyes, but she did not look away. "Yes. Her name is Tiri. She is all I have." Jae-woo walked closer. His face was hard to read. "The collective says you stole her. They say she is their property. She is my daughter. They say she is defective, that she cannot serve their hive." Velra lifted her chin. "She is perfect. She is alive. She breathes. She moves. She will grow and learn and become her own person. How can that be defective?" Jae-woo stopped in front of her. He was a tall man, with broad shoulders and gray hair cut short. His uniform had medals on it from battles he had fought for humanity. He had seen terrible things in his life. He had made hard choices. But standing here, looking at this alien mother and her forbidden child, he felt something he had not felt in a long time. He felt the weight of what it meant to be human. Captain Doan said, his voice shaking. "I know I broke the rules. I know this could destroy my career. But I could not turn them over to die. I could not do it. If you want to punish me, I will accept it. Just please do not hand them to the collective." Yoonbi stepped forward too. "The baby is innocent. She did nothing wrong. She was just born different. Is that really a crime that deserves death?" Jae-woo looked at them both. Then he looked at Velra. "Why did you run?" he asked. "Your people do not question orders. They do not rebel. What made you different?" Velra was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. "I do not know. When Tiri was born, they told me she was wrong, told me to give her to the recyclers. And I looked at her, this small thing that I had carried inside me, and I felt something, feeling I had no name for. It was like a voice in my chest, screaming that I could not let her go." She paused, touching the pod gently. "Your doctor told me the name for this feeling. She called it love. Among my people, love is a disease, a defect. Perhaps that is why I could feel it. Perhaps I am broken too, just like my daughter. This is what being broken feels like. Then I do not want to be fixed." Jae-woo closed his eyes. He saw Minho's face in his memory, the way his son used to laugh, the way he used to reach up with tiny hands wanting to be held. Jae-woo had loved that boy more than anything in the universe. And when he died, a part of Jae-woo died with him. "The collective will not stop searching," Jae-woo said finally. "If we keep you here, we put everyone on this ship at risk. It could break the peace treaty between our species. Thousands of humans could die if war comes." Velra nodded slowly. "I know I am sorry. Never wanted to bring trouble to anyone. I will go. I will take Tiri and find somewhere else to hide. Just give me a shuttle and I will disappear. You can tell the collective that you never saw me." She started to stand, but Jae-woo held up his hand. "I did not say I was letting you go." Fear flashed across Velra's face. Dohan stepped forward, ready to argue, but Jae-woo silenced him with a look. "I did not say I was handing you over either," the captain continued. "I am trying to think. Give me a moment." He turned away and walked to the small window in the corner of the room. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. Somewhere out there, the Shivari collective was hunting for this mother and child. Somewhere out there, humans were trying to keep a fragile peace with alien species who did not share their values. It was a complicated universe. Nothing was ever simple, but some things should be simple. Some things should be beyond politics and treaties and calculations. The life of a child. The bond between a mother and her baby is the basic right to exist. Jae-woo thought about the day he had joined the space program. He'd been young then, full of dreams. He had wanted to explore the stars, to meet new civilizations, to represent the best of humanity. And what was the best of humanity? Was it their technology? Their weapons? Their ability to make deals and sign treaties? The best of humanity was their heart. Their stubborn, illogical, wonderful heart that refused to accept cruelty as normal. Their belief that every life had value. Their willingness to stand up for strangers even when it cost them everything. He turned back to face the others. "I am not going to hand you over," he said to Velra. "And I am not going to let you run away to die alone in space." Doan looked shocked. "Captain, do not thank me yet. I have not figured out what we are going to do instead. But I know one thing. I did not become a captain to send babies to their deaths. I did not spend my life serving humanity just to throw away everything that makes us human." He looked at Velra, and for the first time, something like warmth entered his voice. "You asked us for help? You trusted us, even though your people taught you that we were primitive and emotional. Well, you were right to trust us because we are emotional. We feel things. We care about things. And right now, I care about you and your daughter." Velra stared at him. Tears were forming in her eyes again, that strange, clear liquid that ran down her gray cheeks. "I do not understand," she whispered. "Why would you risk so much for us? We are nothing to you." Jae-woo smiled, but it was a sad smile. "I had a son once. His name was Minho. He was sick from the day he was born. The doctors said he would not survive. Said we should let him go, but we did not. We fought for him every single day. And even though we lost him in the end, I never regretted fighting. Because that is what love means. It means you never give up." He walked over and placed his hand gently on the pod where Tiri slept. "Your daughter deserves that same fight. And if her own people will not give it to her, then we will."
Ow.
Storage room. At the back of a ship drifting through empty space, 4 beings stood together. 2 humans, 1 Kavari mother, 1 sleeping child. They were all afraid. They all knew that the path ahead would be dangerous. But in that moment, they also knew something else. They knew that they were not alone. And sometimes, that is the only thing that matters. Captain Jae-woo did not sleep that night. Sat in his quarters, staring at the communication screen, thinking about what to do. The easy path was clear. Hand Velra and Tiri over to the collective and pretend none of this had ever happened. The treaty would be safe. His crew would be safe. His career would be safe. But Jae-woo had not become a captain by taking the easy path. He had become a captain by making hard choices and living with the consequences. And he knew deep in his bones that giving up a mother and child to be killed was not something he could live with. By morning, he had made his decision. It was crazy. It might end his career. It might even start a war. But it was the right thing to do. He called Doan, Yoon, B, and Velra to the bridge. The rest of the crew was told to take a break. The next hour, the command center belonged to them alone. "I have a plan," Jae-woo said. "But I need you all to understand something first. If this goes wrong, we could all face serious punishment. I could be removed from command. Doan and Yoonbi could lose their positions. And Velra, the collective might try even harder to find you." "What is the plan?" Dohan asked. Jae-woo took a deep breath. "We're going to tell everyone. Not just the coalition authorities. Everyone. Every ship. Every station. Every species that can receive our signal. We are going to broadcast Velra's story to the entire galaxy." Yoonbi's eyes went wide. "Captain, that is unprecedented." "Yes, it is. But think about it. Right now, the collective controls the story. They say Velra is a criminal who stole their property. They say she is dangerous. But what if people heard the truth? What if they knew that the property she stole was her own child? What if they knew that the collective kills babies for being born different?" Velra was trembling. "You would do this? You would put yourself in danger to tell my story? Not just me, all of us, together?" Jae-woo looked at each of them in turn. The collective is powerful, but they are not loved. Many species in the coalition fear them. Many disagree with their ways, but are too afraid to speak up. If we can show them that they are not alone, if we can prove that there are others willing to stand against cruelty, maybe we can change something. Doan nodded slowly. "It is a risk. But it is a chance. It is more than that," Yoonbi added. "It is a statement, a declaration of what we believe in, what humanity believes in." Jae-woo turned to Velra. "This is your story, your life. I will not do this without your permission. If you want to stay hidden, to keep running, I will help you. But I think your story deserves to be heard." Velra looked down at Tiri, who was awake now, moving gently inside her pod. The small creature made soft sounds, her large eyes looking up at her mother with complete trust. "Among my people," Velra said quietly, "there is no word for courage. We do not believe in standing alone against the many. The hive is everything. The individual is nothing." She looked up at Jay-Woo. "But you have shown me a different way. You have shown me that one person can matter, that one voice can make a difference." She stood up straighter, holding Tiri close. "Tell my story. Let the galaxy hear. Whatever happens next, at least the truth will be known." Jay-Woo nodded. He turned to the communication console and began to work. It took time to set up a wide broadcast, one that would reach every major relay station in Coalition space. But within an hour, everything was ready. He looked at his small team one last time. "Are we ready?" They all nodded. Jay-Woo pressed the button to begin the broadcast. His face appeared on screens across hundreds of light years. Ships stopped their work to listen. Stations fell silent. Billions of beings turned their attention to this human captain on an exploration vessel at the edge of known space. "My name is Captain Jay-Woo Shin of the human vessel Aegis," he began. "I am speaking to you today not as a military officer or a diplomat, but as a father, someone who has lost a child and knows the pain of that loss. I am speaking to you about love, and about the right of every mother to protect her young." He told them Velra's story. All of it. The birth of Tiri. The death sentence passed on an innocent baby. It's a desperate escape. The crash landing. It's a chance discovery by Lieutenant Doan Park. He held nothing back. Then he asked Velra to speak. She came to stand beside him, holding Tiri so that the camera could see her. Her voice was unsteady at first, but it grew stronger as she talked. "I was raised to believe that emotion is weakness," she said. "That love is a defect. A mother has no special bond with her child. I was raised to believe that the collective is everything, and the individual is nothing." She paused, looking at her daughter. "But I have learned something new. I have learned that the feelings I was taught to hate are the most beautiful parts of being alive. I have learned that love is not weakness. It is strength. It is the only strength that truly matters." She looked directly into the camera. "I am asking for your help. Not for myself. I know I have broken laws. I know I am a criminal in the eyes of my people. But my daughter has done nothing wrong. She was simply born different. And in my world, that is enough to deserve death." Tears ran down her face, but she did not wipe them away. "I am asking you, all of you, every species, every being who can hear my voice. Is that right? Is that the kind of galaxy we want to live in? One where children die because they are not perfect? One where mothers are forced to give up the ones they love?" She held Tiri up slightly, and the little creature looked at the camera with her large, innocent eyes. "This is my daughter. Her name is Tiri. She is alive. She is real. She is not property. She is not a mistake. She is my child, and I love her. Please, help us." The broadcast ended. The screen went dark. For a long moment, nothing happened. The four of them stood on the bridge in silence, waiting. Had anyone listened? Did anyone care? Then the messages started coming. First one, then 10, then hundreds, then thousands. From human colonies, from Thalasi trading ships, from Arendi research stations, from small, independent worlds that nobody had ever heard of, even from some Shivari ships, anonymous signals expressing support. The galaxy was responding. Not everyone was positive. Many species condemned the broadcast as interference in internal Kavari affairs. Several coalition officials demanded that Jay-Woo be arrested for breaking diplomatic protocols. The Shivari collective itself sent a furious message declaring Velra to be an enemy of the state and demanding her immediate return. But for every angry message, there were dozens more offering support, offers of shelter, offers of medical help for Tiri, offers of protection from species who had their own reasons to distrust the collective. The story spread faster than anyone could control it, jumping from ship to ship, station to station. World to World. Jay-Woo received a private message from a senior coalition diplomat, a woman he had met once at a conference many years ago. She was known for being careful and political, never taking sides. Her message was short. You have started something that cannot be stopped. I do not know if you are brave or foolish. Probably both. But the collective is facing questions they have never had to answer before. Internal reports suggest that some of their own people are questioning the recycling laws for the first time in centuries. You may have changed more than you realize. Jae-woo showed the message to the others. Velra read it 3 times, unable to believe it. This is because of me? She asked. This is because I ran away with my daughter? Yoonbi put her hand on Velra's shoulder. No, this is because you had the courage to love her. Everything that followed came from that. You did not just save Tiri, you may have saved countless others like her. Meanwhile, Tiri had woken up fully. For the first time since Doan had found them, she seemed active and alert. Yoonbi had been treating her condition with human medicine adapted for Chivari biology, and it was working. The genetic defect was still there, but its effects were being managed. Tiri was not dying anymore. Velra opened the pod carefully and lifted her daughter out. Tiri was small enough to fit in her mother's forearms, her soft body curling against Velra's chest. Her eyes, so much like her mother's, looked around the bridge with curiosity. Then something happened that none of them expected. Tiri made a sound. A soft, high sound. It was not a word. It was not a cry. It was something else entirely. It was a laugh. Velra stared at her daughter in wonder. She is happy, she whispered. I did not know she could be happy. Doan smiled. All children can be happy. They just need to feel safe and loved. Velra held Tiri closer, tears streaming down her face again. But this time, they were not tears of sadness or fear. They were tears of joy. Pure, simple joy. Outside the ship, the stars continued to burn. The messages continued to pour in. The galaxy continued to argue and debate and fight about what was right and what was wrong. But in that moment, none of it mattered. All that mattered was a mother holding her daughter. All that mattered was a child's laugh in the darkness of space. All that mattered was love. 3 weeks had passed. 3 weeks of chaos, arguments, negotiations, and hope. The galaxy had not stopped talking about Velra and Tiri. News programs on every station discussed the case. Scholars debated the meaning of motherhood across species. Politicians gave speeches about rights and freedoms and the limits of tradition. The Kavari collective was in trouble. For the first time in their long history, they faced real opposition from within their own ranks. Younger Shivari began to ask questions that had never been asked before. Why were defective larvae recycled? Who decided what defective meant? Was the hive truly more important than the individual? Or had they just been told that for so long that no one remembered any other way? The collective did not change overnight. Centuries of tradition could not be erased by one broadcast, but cracks had appeared in their perfect system. Small groups of Chimera mothers began to hide their defective children instead of giving them up. Secret networks formed to help them escape. The authorities tried to stop it, but the movement was spreading too fast. And at the center of it all was Velra, a name that had become a symbol. A mother who had dared to say no. The Coalition Council met in emergency session to discuss her case. Representatives from dozens of species gathered on a station at the heart of Coalition space. They argued for days. The collective demanded that Velra be returned to face justice. Their allies supported them. But others, led by humanity, refused. In the end, a compromise was reached. It was not perfect. It was not justice. But it was something Velra and Tiri would be granted asylum under human protection. They could not be touched by the collective as long as they remained in human space. In exchange, Captain Jae-woo would face a formal inquiry for his actions. The peace treaty between humanity and the collective would remain in place. But it would be reviewed and updated to include new language about the rights of individuals. It was not a victory. The collective still existed. Their laws still killed children. But for the first time, someone had challenged them and lived. For the first time, the galaxy had been forced to look at what they were really doing. When Jae-woo received the news, felt a mix of relief and sadness. He had saved Velra and Tiri, but he had also changed his own life forever. He would have to stand before a military board and explain why he had broken protocols. His career might be over. At the very least, it would never be the same. Du-hun and Yoon-bi stood with him when the news came through. They had both submitted reports taking full responsibility for their parts in hiding Velra. They were prepared to face whatever consequences came. "Are you afraid?" Do-hun asked his captain. Jae-woo thought about the question. "No," he said finally. "I am not afraid. When I joined the space program, I promised to represent the best of humanity. For a long time, I thought that meant following orders and completing missions. But now I understand that it means something more. It means standing up for what is right, even when it is hard, even when it costs you everything." He looked at Do-hun and Yoon-bi with warmth in his eyes. "I have no regrets, and I would do it again." The inquiry took place 2 months later. Jae-woo stood before a panel of senior officers and answered their questions honestly. Yes, he had helped an alien fugitive. Yes, he had broadcast a message without authorization. Yes, he had risked the peace treaty and the safety of his crew. The panel listened to everything. They reviewed the evidence. They watched the broadcast again. They read the thousands of messages that had come in from across the galaxy, many of them thanking humanity for what they had done. In the end, they found Jae-woo guilty of breaking protocol, but they did not remove him from command. Instead, they gave him a formal warning and noted that his actions, while irregular, had brought credit to humanity as a whole. The decision was controversial. Some said he should have been punished more severely. Others said he should have been rewarded. Jae-woo did not care about the debates. He only cared about one thing. Velra and Tiri were safe. They had been moved to a human colony world called New Haven. It was a small planet, green and peaceful, with gentle seasons and kind people. A place where refugees from many species came to start new lives. A place where differences were accepted and celebrated. Jae-woo visited them 3 months after everything had settled down. He took a transport ship from the Aegis and landed at the small spaceport near the colony's main settlement. Valra was waiting for him when he arrived. She looked different, stronger, healthier. The fear that had lived in her eyes was gone, replaced by something calmer, something that looked almost like peace. "Captain," she said, her voice warm. "Just Jae-woo now," he replied with a smile. "I am not your captain. I never was." They walked together through the colony. The streets were busy with beings of all kinds, humans, Thalosi, Irendi, and others that Jae-woo did not recognize. Children played in the parks, their laughter filling the air. It was so different from the cold emptiness of space, so full of life and color and sound. Velra led him to a small house at the edge of the settlement. It had a garden in front, filled with flowers that she had planted herself. Human flowers, with bright colors that did not exist on any Kivari world. Inside, Yoon-bi was waiting. She had taken a leave of absence from the Aegis to help Velra settle in. She looked happy, relaxed, surrounded by small toys and books, and there was Tiri. The little Shivari had grown. She was out of her pod now, crawling across the floor with curious energy. Her genetic condition was being managed with regular treatment, and she was developing well. Not perfectly, not the way other Shivari children did, but in her own way. Her own beautiful way. When Tiri saw Jae-woo, she made that sound again. That soft, high laugh that had moved them all so deeply on the bridge of the Aegis. She crawled toward him, reaching up with tiny hands. Jae-woo kneeled down and let her touch his face. Her fingers were soft and cool against his skin. Her eyes, large and black like her mother's, looked at him with complete trust. "She remembers you," Velra said quietly. "I do not know how, but she knows you helped us." Jae-woo felt tears forming in his own eyes. He did not try to stop them. "Hello, little one," he whispered. "I am so glad you are alive." That evening, they sat together and talked. Velra told Jae-woo about her new life on New Haven, the friends she had made, the work she had found helping other refugees, the way she was learning to be a mother in a world that accepted her love instead of punishing it. Yoon-bi talked about Somi, her own daughter back on Earth. She had decided to return home after this visit. She had been away too long. She wanted to hold her child again, to watch her grow, to be there for the moments that could never be repeated. I learned something from Velra, Yunbi said. I learned that nothing is more important than being with the ones you love. I thought I was doing good out in space, and maybe I was, but I was missing something more important at home.
Oh.
Jae-woo nodded. He understood. He had learned the same lesson in a different way. Before he left, Velra gave him something. A small object made of the same shell-like material as her old ship. It was a picture frame, and inside was an image of Tiri taking her first steps on New Haven soil. I want you to have this, Velra said, so you will never forget what you did for us. We took the frame carefully. I will keep it with me always. He looked at the picture. Tiri was standing on grass, her small form unsteady but determined. Behind her, Velra was watching with pride and joy. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and red dot. It was beautiful. It was hope made visible. Jae-woo returned to the Aegis and resumed his duties. Life went on. There were more planets to survey, more missions to complete, more reports to file. The universe did not stop just because one Kavari mother and child had been saved, but something had changed. Word had spread through the coalition about what the humans had done. Other species looked at them differently now, not as weak or emotional or irrational, but as beings who would stand up for strangers, beings who would risk everything for what they believed in. Some said humans were dangerous, because of this, unpredictable, hard to control. And maybe that was true, but others saw something else. They saw strength and compassion. They saw power and love. They saw the possibility that the galaxy could be different. Better, kinder than it had ever been before. One day, many years later, Jae-woo received a message from New Haven. It was from Tiri herself. Now grown into a young adult, her message was short but filled with warmth. Dear Jae-woo, my mother told me everything. How you found her, how you saved her, how you saved me. I am alive because of you. I have a life because of you. I do not know how to thank you for that, but I want you to know that I am happy. I am loved, and I am doing my best to help others the way you helped us. Thank you. For everything, Joao read the message 3 times. Then he looked out the window of his ship at the endless stars. Somewhere out there, a little girl had grown into a woman. A mother had found peace. A story had changed the galaxy, even if only a little, and it had all started because one human, on a nameless moon, had chosen to listen to a stranger's cry for help, because that is what humans do. They help. They hope, and sometimes, against all odds, that is enough to change everything.